Okay, and a very warm welcome once again to the Ladies' Shiur, the Chabad House of Hendon's Ladies' Shiur, Parsha Shiur, on Thursday the 15th, is it? Of February, and of course we are Vov Adar Rishon, which, as has been pointed out, is the yahrzeit of our dear friend Sharon and Sharon Wakefield, and so we're going to dedicate the shiur in her memory, in her blessed memory, in her name, Sharon Rachel Bat Eliezer Halevi. This one's should her Kinval, and her neshama should have an aliyah, of course, and has a sfus, and asking and praying and on behalf of all of us here, and of course, Klal Yisrael in these very challenging, difficult times. Okay, so Parshat Terumah. Now, how would we translate the word Terumah? How would you translate it? Well, you could normally translate it by saying it's a sort. There's two possible sources. It comes from the word Terumah, which means like haroma, which means to elevate. Larum, yes, for those who know Hebrew, or lehitromem, yes, is the hifil that we go to exalt, right? Or it's also a language of lahafrish, to separate, right? Meaning you're giving a donation, basically. You separate from some of your own, from some of your own property, whatever it is, and you're giving it away to the Beit HaMikdash. That's what Terumah. People say, even nowadays, people say, "Oh, I want to give Terumah to Beit Knesset." Yes, you've heard of that. Terumah means it's sort of a donation.
Say offering.
Contribution here. Well, where does it say contribution?
It says offering the second one. As a translation.
Yes. I think I think contribution, offering. He's sort of using them both, I guess.
Second line.
Yeah. Test Trumos C. Yes. It is interesting. Well, okay. So here you understand. I mean, I think contribution says it more. Offering, okay, is also, it's a similar idea, isn't it? It's a similar idea.
Is it like a tithe?
Yes, truma is also considered a tithe. For example, the word truma. I mean, truma in the Torah refers to several things. It refers to what we give to the priests. Yes, that is the biblical truma, an agricultural truma that you would give. You would take a certain portion of it, of all your produce that comes into, that you farm, and you give that to the Kohen. That's called also truma, right? Sometimes also the Bikurim is called the truma. I think there are other, so it's and the idea here, of course, we are talking about building the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the Beis HaMikdash, and it's quite kind of, it's really interesting. You always look at the order of things, like what's the order? So right after the giving of the Torah, Parshat Yitro, yes, we had all the discussion about all the laws, mishpatim, all the civil laws between man and his fellow, right? That was considered like the most important thing. We have to regulate our behavior between man and his fellow, how to conduct ourselves, what we should do, what we can't do, what we, and all the laws and penalties involved if you do something wrong. Yeah. Now that we've sort of done that, we need to establish, you see, in a sense, this is part of the, if you like, there are two parts to Matan Torah. There's the part of Torah that is, it's like there's laws. We have to live according to the laws that we are given, right? This is basically, we are somebody once, I think Jonathan Sachs once said that Jewish people are a nation of lawyers. Well, frustrated lawyers, whatever, So, but we all have to know the law. We have to live by the law, right? This is what sets us aside. It's not just preaching, it's practicing as well, right? So there's laws, there's mitzvahs, but there's also part of Judaism where we are part of a covenant We're part of a Brit. We're part of a covenant, a relationship between Hashem and us, right? And this was now expressed after we've done about the mitzvahs. It's expressed in the idea of building a mishkan, a tabernacle, which later on, of course, became the holy temple in Jerusalem, right? But at least now we're talking about a temporary. No, temporary is not the right word. A mobile sanctuary. Okay, a mobile sanctuary. That's what it was. They used to put it down, take it up, put it down, wherever you went. Right? The Jews have always been very mobile, haven't they? We've had that ability of going. Or we've had to be mobile. Okay, and sorry,
we still do.
Well, you know, a lot of people now. It's mobile. A lot of people go on Aliyah. A lot of people move, but we're always moving around. Jews are always moving around.
Thinking about the people in Israel who can't live where they were.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. Okay, that's yeah, but they don't want to be. Okay, but here we have a situation where what was the whole purpose of the Mishkan? I mean,
a place for Hashem to dwell among us.
Right. Now, why? Very good. A place for Hashem to dwell among us. So exactly the verse of Hanti Basotha. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. To offer up sacrifices.
So
right. Which is an expression of the Shekhinah dwelling on us. Right. But there's a sort of a principle behind it, you see, why we need it. I mean, why do we need the Mishkan? Why do we need it? What was wrong with it? Look, we had Matan Torah. Great. Wonderful. We're given the Torah, we're given the mitzvahs. What do we need a Mishkan for? What do we need a Mishkan for?
No,
what's wrong? Sorry?
Visual token that Hashem is actually there, because you used to have the what's called the
temple.
Yeah, but when Hashem was actually there, it's not like the cloud, not the cloud.
Yes.
A smoke.
Yeah, the cloud. The pillar of fire. The pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud. At night, during the day it was a pillar of cloud. During the night it was a pillar of fire.
So that token that you could see.
Correct. Very good. It's more than a token, but you're right. It's a symbol, and because you see, Matan Torah. You know, is an interesting thing. Matan Torah happened over a very short period of time. It was, it happened on the 6th of Sivan. It was that morning, and it was an absolutely unbelievable experience. The Jewish people I'm just passive, just watching this glorious godly revelation and hearing Hashem's saying the 10 commandments, right? But what happened after that? Nothing. It went away. That's it. The Shekhinah went away.
Yeah.
Finished. Moshe's up the mountain, and the Jews, well, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now then, So they got a bit bored. What did you say?
They misbehaved.
They misbehaved, exactly. Why? One of the reasons they say is because, you see, there was lacking a focal place, a focal point, where you're right, a visual and a palpable focal place where people could gravitate towards spiritually and sense in their own lives there's something holy, something spiritual, something special. This was the representation of Shekhinah, of Hashem on the world in a permanent basis. And that's why the Jewish people asked, right now, because if there's no visual representation and there's no palpable thing, then unfortunately we saw what happened with the Jews. We saw what they did. They were able to build the golden calf. Yes, in some kind of a weird. Yes. This is what they say, don't you? If you don't, if you don't have if you don't have a healthy, focus of a person's love and devotion, then unfortunately they go onto an unhealthy form of love and devotion, right? That's what I was meaning. I said it's like raising kids. Sometimes you have yeah. So it's you've got to be careful to. So Hashem said, right, we want to have a Mishkan, and this itself we know was an expression of forgiveness. The fact they were building the Mishkan, we were able to be forgiven. Hashem told us He's going to forgive us for the golden calf. So it was the building of this Mishkan that was twofold. It brought the Shekhinah in a fixed way down onto the world. Yes, the Shekhinah fixed. It wasn't something that's just ethereal and spiritual and then it's gone. It was fixed. And the fact that we all of us Jews were involved in contributing to the Mishkan, this is a very crucial point, because that made it more meaningful to us.
Was that a commandment though? Because you had a choice of how much.
Yeah.
But was it like?
Well, they were.
It looks like a commandment, but then again, you have your own.
Well, the truth is, if
your
you
own
see,
story.
there were three. If you were the word Terumah is mentioned 3 times in the first 3 verses. Yes, twice in verse 2 and once in verse
And which
3.
one's-
So there were 3 kinds of contribution.
Yeah, right.
Right.
One was,
Some of them were like basic in that
Yeah.
there were 2 sort of what you have chetzi shekel, half
That's
shekels, right? At that time there were 2 of those actually. One was used for the what do we call them? The sockets, the silver sockets in which the beams, the upright beams stood. So they were like a foundation. Yes, they were heavy, foundational. So everybody gave a half shekel, melted it all down, and you got these whatever it was. How many you have? About 50. Or what it must have been about 100
weren't there like
sockets, because
two beams
you were
together?
doing, huh?
Was 2 beams.
No,
in
no,
one
all the
socket?
beams were connected together.
Right.
Um, but-
Yeah.
the beams were there, and then in the bottom you had the sockets. That was the foundation, right? And then you had another chetzi shekel, was for the sacrifice, for the korbanot.
Yeah.
But then you had whatever you want to give, you give. That's
Yeah.
also, that was the third one, if you like. That was what everybody gave different. And it goes on to explain all the different wolves, the different things that were being offered for the Beis Hamikdash. It's very important to understand that when a person donates from their own wealth, from their own property, from their own, right? They, could you sit over there? Yeah. No, she's going to move. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you sit here. That's her coat. So, yeah. No. I'm just explaining why she feels comfortable moving there. You keep your coat on, I know. However, okay. So when you give, you become so much empowered to be a part of it. You see, and that you feel, right? When people give, this is something, it's not, you're not just a passive bystander watching.
Yeah.
Watching the studios, which was what like the 10 Commandments was a bit like. We were just passive bystanders. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's very good. But you're not doing anything yourself, right? So this is the Mishkan. This is so crucial that the whole purpose of donating to the Mishkan was a very, very crucial part of making everybody feel a part of it, and making that being a part of permanent, a feeling of permanent involvement, permanent commitment, involvement, and empowerment. Yes.
Shekel is meant to be like a tax which you have to pay.
Yes.
So maybe the idea of contributing to society, to everything, starting from that point, it's not.
I said, funny enough, I mentioned this in a shiur earlier on in the week. I thought if people were to understand how taxes are designed to make people look at taxes just governments take my money.
Yeah.
Which is true. It's true. However, there is a deeper aspect of what it is, because in a sense, the fact if you pay your taxes, you hopefully are contributing to society, and you hopefully you feel empowered to be part of the society that you are contributing to, right? They don't say that, they don't sell it this way. It's just like, well, go pay taxes. Well, we're saying what the taxes are for. What do you do? What are they spent for? They're trying to build up society. Now, of course, there's problems, and there's corruption, and there's blah, blah, and there's overtaxation. Yes, we all know that. And there's, are you giving to the wrong people? And are you helping out? What are you helping? Who are you helping out? That's what we have elections for, governments, blah, blah, right? And we don't need to go into that, right? But yes, it certainly was a head tax. You could say that the chetzi shekel probably was the first poll tax in history.
And it was not voluntary.
No, it wasn't voluntary.
Compulsory.
And it didn't matter whether you're rich or poor.
Sorry.
You got exactly the same. Just one second. You gave the same amount, whether you're wealthy or poor. That's why people think was a certain inequality there. But there's a reason for that as well. There's a reason for that, because everybody was supposed to feel that they have an important part in it. Yes, sir.
It says
Yes,
here, take my offering from every person whose heart inspires him to generosity, which
Yeah.
makes me think that it was voluntary.
Well, that's why I said to you just a few minutes ago that there are hinted to here in the Chumash. There are 3 types of donations. That's what I just said to you. There's the fact that it's mentioned 3 times the word truma, that our sage is telling us that it's hinting to half a shekel, that one truma, half shekel for the sockets, half a shekel for the sacrifices, and then this one, which is hinting to the one that everybody and anyone can give whatever they like to give. So that was more voluntary. It was voluntary, and it was I would say you might want to say progressive, in the sense that presumably people who are wealthy, yes, would give more, and people who are less wealthy would give less. Although in that time everybody was pretty wealthy. Why were they all pretty wealthy? Why was everybody wealthy?
They
Brought stuff out of Egypt, and they got stuff at the Red Sea, splitting of the sea. They became very rich.
have to pay a half a shekel for the sacrifices that they were the animals that they had with them, because they were in the midbar. Like, were they buying it? Who the animals for the sacrifices? How did that work?
Well, let's talk about the Parsha Shkolim, shall we? Let's talk about in more detail. You mean if they had sheep, why would they need to pay half a shekel? Is that what you're saying?
It's like buying something. Like,
Yeah,
who collected the money for the animals?
well, actually, the whole thing here is interesting. If you look at the word, if you look at the second line, it says v'yikhu li truma. They will take for me truma. Why say v'yikhu? We should say v'yitnu. They shall give me. Why say v'yikhu? They'll take. The wrong word. It's the wrong word. It should be v'yitnu. They should give. We've talked about giving and empowering, aren't we? So why say v'yikhu? V'yikhu means to take. Well, who's taking? You're giving, you're not taking.
What you take from me.
Oh, it's talking really, it's more emphasized. In other words, the speech is more geared to the secretaries, to the people involved in running the Mishkan, that they will take from the people will give to them and they will take. Right? It's an important part that it's about taking, right? Sometimes people think, it's a mitzvah to give tzedakah. Yes, we all know mitzvah give tzedakah. Everybody knows mitzvah give tzedakah, right? But people don't quite understand that it's also important for a poor person that he should be able to know that he has to take sometimes. He has to take, and he has to take with the view that he's not taking because he's taking because it's the mitzvah. Because if he doesn't take, then there's nobody giving. Nobody can give.
He's giving.
If he doesn't take, he's giving exactly. He's giving the mitzvah in a sense. So the yikhu, in a sense, here we're emphasizing the fact that there are people who took the property. In later portions, for example, Vayakal Pekudek speaks about them giving. There's the emphasis of giving more, right? So it's important to realize there's 2 parts of giving. You have to give, and then you have to have somebody to take. If you don't have somebody to take, then you can give as much as you want. There's nobody to take it. There's nobody to take responsibility. Well, you can't do anything, right? If you want to make a donation, you see something online. Wow, what a great cause! I'd love that. How about us of Hendon? Amazing. Well, I want to help them out, and they say click here to make payment. And you come to a blank page. Well, how's that going to help anybody? Nobody. So if you don't have the means to take, then you're not facilitating the mitzvah of tzedakah altogether. So here, it's an interesting point. For Yikhu, there's also the important thing of taking. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but in this same verse, there's so much, even on one verse to talk about. It's incredible here. Look what it says here. Kol ish asher yidvenu libo tikkun, as you read it so beautifully before, each person that inspires him, his heart inspires him to give, right? Now here, they've done a very, very politically correct way of translating. Oh, it's so politically correct. A round of applause to the Gutnick Chumash for using the word person. Oh, we've got the right pronouns here, right? Yeah, right. Take my offering from every person.
Oh,
right?
Rather than man.
Man.
Right.
And, we kind of use man, woman, right?
It's so funny that
Gender neutral person.
He wrote this a lot.
What
Yeah.
do you say?
Really ahead of its time.
Yes, yes, way ahead of his time. I'm going to have to send a nice email to Rabbi Chaim. Yes, you remember that? Yeah, Chaim, what's his name?
Miller.
Miller.
To do with because was it also including women?
Oh, so now I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You see, if he would say, if you are just relying, just a second. Oh,
If it
oh,
said men.
ladies, calm down a second. I'm going to ask you a question. When you say the word person, take my offering from every person whose heart inspires him to generosity. What would you think? Would you think that includes women or not?
Yes.
Of course it would.
Think that it only includes women because they're the ones who gave
The women were getting their jewelry. They
Why
were
would
getting their
person?
jewelry.
I'm saying the word person. You can't say the word person would only mean women.
No, you're right.
So, because that's going a bit to the other extreme, okay? Okay, but person means man and woman. Human. Right? You got the right humans. No, but that's the whole point of putting the word person, that you're not, right? But really, that's not quite accurate. Because it says the word ish. Now it says ish. Now here's my question.
Yes.
The women, surely the women gave. We know the women gave,
The men
actually.
might-
If you look in Parsha, as Denise said, that actually the women in some ways, they gave more than the men. So what's going on here? Why does it say they'll take only from the men? Kol ish. You wouldn't know this if you just read the English in the Hebrew, you know? And it's very important, therefore, to read Hebrew, to learn Hebrew, so you know how to understand the Chumash. Don't rely on translations, right? Christianity relies, lahavdil, relies on people not knowing Hebrew, knowing Greek and Latin. Sorry? What's not a right translation? The word person. That's what I've just been saying.
No, sorry,
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
sorry. So
I'm saying person is the wrong translation. No, because person includes men and women. Oh, no, hold that.
Or the man took from the.
No, it doesn't say the women gave to the husband. It says the women did give and they brought in a bigger way even than the men. So what's going on here? So what's going on here then? What's this all about then? Because it says, so here we come to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Explains. He explains, no, he says, you have no idea. It's not true. It says the women did give more. But you know what? They weren't commanded to give. They weren't commanded. They weren't commanded. Here we're talking about commandment. They should give the Terumah. They should take the Terumah, right? Kol ish, from every Jew, from every man, Why is this? Why were the women not commanded? It says that the men were commanded, the women were not commanded. Exactly, because the women don't even need the commandment. They're gonna give anyway, and they give generously anyway. Women have more of that natural inclination and that natural sense of emunah and bitachon.
What you want?
The commandments. So to give, I should give. All right, I should give. I know you have to give, right? And there's another similar idea here about having children. The first mitzvah mentioned in the Torah with Adam and Eve, right? So we know who is the mitzvah upon. Who's the mitzvah upon? Man. Why is the mitzvah not on women? Why is the mitzvah not on women? I mean, a man, everybody knows that it's teamwork. It's teamwork. Hi, how are you? Right? So if it's teamwork, well, then the women should, don't think the women should also say, well, it's a mitzvah for them too. The answer is, of course, very simple, just in the same way. Women do not need to be commanded to have children. It's not that it happens. It doesn't just happen.
No,
I mean, well, it could just happen.
No,
but
they're self-initiated.
it's more than that. It's totally natural. natural and
Take care.
normal for a woman to have children. For a man, already he's got a bit more issues. he has this cheshbon, that cheshbon. Can I afford? Should I? Shouldn't I? When? How? You know. You know, the ones they said today, they asked a chassid once, they said to him, he says, do you believe in family planning?
Yeah.
He says, yes. I said, yes. He says, yes. He says, I plan to have a family. So, you know, you can make plans here and there, and sometimes you've got different. So that's why the man needs a commandment. Why needs a commandment? Because sometimes he gets a little bit confused, he gets distracted, and you have different this and different that. And you understand? Women don't need any of that. Because it's natural and normal. And if we don't,
It was until recently.
well, yeah, in a way, yes, you're right. I think with the advent of family planning,
Yeah.
you know, unfortunately, you're right. For the first time in history, yes, it doesn't have to be natural, but the natural and normal, the default mode, shall we say, unless there is active intervention, is that it's natural and normal. And regardless of what women will say, the natural normal instinct is they want to have children. So the same thing over here is that the women had this idea of wanting to give, and there's no kind of, this is commandment.
I don't even talk.
You don't even need to say, come on, it's so obvious, right? So therefore, it's just interesting. I didn't notice that he translated it as person.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you sort of leave a little bit, you miss this point, don't you? You know, you know, it's a bit swings and roundabouts. You leave, you want to translate things in a more inclusive, politically correct way, right?
Well,
Then
that's
you
a-
can miss, sorry?
And it says expires in.
Yeah, because he's talking about kol ish v'ish. Because in other words, a man, yes,
To get
has their different levels of inspiration. Yeah, where somebody will be, whoa, I'm going to give tons. Another guy's going to say, well, you know, I don't mind, I'll give a bit, you know. And the other guy says, I'd rather not give it altogether. You know what I'm saying? There's different levels.
Yeah.
But women don't have these different levels. Of course we're going to give. It's the Mishkan, for crying out loud. It's not like an optional extra cream on the cake, is it? Right? This is it. This is Judaism. It's Judaism. There's an amazing video going around. We just saw it this morning about a lady in one of the over at Knesset, a lady Knesset. I can't education. I can't remember her name. She's very eloquent and very passionate, and the way she speaks about the fact how society has cheated and stolen, Israeli society has cheated a whole generations out of Jewish education because it's considered a burden and a pain and a this and that. And she says, you know, only she in later life came to understand the greatness and the beauty of the diamonds of Yiddishkeit. And she says, it's just tragic. You should hear her, the way she speaks. I mean, even if you don't understand Hebrew very well, she speaks. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, they all have a translation. But she speaks so clearly. Some Israelis, they speak at 170 miles an hour. Otherwise, they don't feel they're Israeli. And she was like very slow. And you listen, you know, it's beautiful. And she has exactly the right incantation of the way she's speaking. So passionate. I've never seen a man get up and say that, funnily enough. Although, of course, I'm sure the men believe it. But you see, she's such a wow. It was an amazing thing. Very, very. So maybe we probably should send this on the, I think to send this on the Chabad group. If you're on the group, you'll very much enjoy it because this has got, it's got subtitles there. Yeah. Okay, so moving on here now. Let's talk a little bit about the different kind of materials. Now look at verse Gimel. Verse 3. We're going to start off. What's the first? What can you give? What are the options? So he gives you options. There's about 12, 13, 14 things over here. Starting off with gold, silver, and copper. Okay.
Different colored wools.
Different colored wools and skins and oils and precious the precious stones and
A mirror.
the somim. Well, that actually came later. That was a bit of a PS from the women again. Interesting enough, a very significant and
Mirrors.
important, but that wasn't a choshes. That was copper. So that was part of
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
The mirrors.
The mirrors
Yeah,
were made of
Copper,
copper.
right,
Yeah.
right.
But that's right at the end. Yeah. Get it all from? Well, we just said they came out of Egypt with tons of stuff.
No, they
Nothing.
did, no.
Oh,
No,
they came out with everything.
the plague of darkness where
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but afterwards it says that the whole point of the Exodus, part of it was to clean Egypt out of everything. Yeah, they asked for the clothes and
Trunks of cypress trees to be
yes,
used.
but that was they were planted in Egypt, right? Originally Yaakov brought those, which we might.
Yeah, but they took them out
Of
again.
course, they cut them down and took it out because they knew. No, they knew they're going to build the Mishkan. That's why he brought them there. No, they didn't just have matzah sandwiches, a matzah ram. It was more than a matzah ramble, let me tell you. No, they came out rich as anything. And then everybody, it says every Jew came out with about 10 donkeys or 15 donkeys carrying goodies
Where does it
from the
say
Egyptians in the Midrash.
that?
And then, yeah, 15 donkeys carrying for everyone. Everybody was loaded. They had everything. And then, of course, at the Red Sea, the splitting of the sea split. And they also had more gold and silver and stuff because they adorned their horses and chariots with gold and silver and stuff. So they picked, it comes to a bonus. We forgot this. We left this behind. So they,
Going through the Red Sea, there was loads of donkeys.
well, all their animals, of course.
Yeah, and then
Didn't you see Prince of Egypt?
When you see Brian,
Didn't you see Prince of Egypt? Didn't you see the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston? Lots of cows and sheep and animals. Of course, there are tons of animals.
Set the split in the sea.
Yeah, where?
no, that's cherry blossoms on
I
Bridge
see.
Lane. Close.
We do have a picture of something that looks like this.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming that they also not like sitting idle, isn't it? As the animals multiply and are born, so you're shearing also the animals, so you're all the time also producing more, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes,
of course.
so I used to think like everyone is sitting in the desert waiting for manna to fall. So now it's a normal life, yeah.
Well,
It's just
And
assuming.
not about a normal life, but it was manageable. She made it manageable. It died. There were dyes. That's how they colored.
does it?
Why not? Or you could say that the wools they had were stuff that they took out. They were already pre-dyed stuff. Quite possible. Egypt was the wealthiest nation on earth. It had a lot of stuff, so there was a lot of resources, a lot of wealth.
Of like trading, passing caravans.
That's an interesting question. Not really, but we would have assumed that they probably could have and would have, right? And that's also to do with the yeah, okay, but it's a definite possibility that they could have and they would have been trading as well, right? But here, I'd like to share with you an interesting question here. Look, we understand the idea of gold. It says the whole idea of the creation of gold was in order to put it into the temple. That's the whole purpose of the creation of gold, was to be used for the purpose of the temple.
Yeah.
You know that? And interestingly enough, if you ask modern science, look up modern science, yes? Look up in Wikipedia or whatever you want, gold. Now, gold, they can't find a very interesting, very scientifically speaking, they haven't really found a very good solution of how gold exists. They don't really know why it exists because there's too many atoms that are close together that would not normally in the current process of the universe been hot enough or strong enough to actually make gold. Some want to say it's like two supernovas crashing into each other or something, and like, but it's a very far-fetched and far-fetched. It's a problem. The gold itself, interesting. I don't know why it's.
They have an
Well, diamonds is that's simple because that's compressed. Exactly, it's compressed carbon. Silver, no, silver is much lighter, and the nucleus is much lighter. So they don't have that problem. It doesn't have that question. They're the, in a sun, a hot sun, a nova, an explosion, most of the elements they can account for.
That's
Okay,
like
not gold.
That's like-
Gold's a
that's
big
like-
problem.
Oh.
Yeah, but now let me ask another question. If gold, you see, there's an interesting principle. Ein ashirut, ein aniyut, b'makom ashirut.
There's no poverty in a place where there's riches.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
If anybody's been, I'll give you a very simple example. If anybody been to Blenheim Palace,
Yes.
where Sir Winston Churchill
Just before.
was born.
Yeah.
Now, if you look around Blenheim Palace, it's north of Oxford, it's near around about Banbury. It's a very nice place to go and visit. You look up at the ceilings. The ceilings are painted gold. Painted gold. It says this is real gold. It's not. It's not gold color from IKEA or from Dulux.
Okay.
No, it is real gold. That the ceilings are painted with gold, right? Because they were so stinking rich. These whoever lived there, that whole the Spencer, their money. So so everything's made out of gold, and actually. So we have a principle that there's no poverty in a place of wealth. And in fact, the Talmud says the laws of building the Mishkan, if you can make it with gold, make it with gold. Make as much gold, put as much gold as you like, because gold's so beautiful, gold's the best, gold's the most precious. Put it with gold, right? So question, Zohov, V'chesed, and Nechoshes. We've got three metals here. Silver and Nechoshes and copper noch. Well, what we're bothering with them for? What are we bothering with them? If gold's the main man.
Is it to represent different kinds of people?
You got it. You got that. Christian. Did you hear that?
Well, actually, I've got two things, and I'm with my right ear about gold here being too soft, with my left ear about different people.
It represents the different metals represent different kinds.
Very good.
Remember
She remembers. Very good. I must have mentioned this before. I don't know. Well, she's looking inside the Gutnick. Very good. Using your brain. Very good. Well, I think you could be both right. Although I'm not sure what, I mean, if you've got solid gold, right? It's not like you push it down and it's not like aluminium foil and it impresses. It's soft, relatively soft. You're right. But it's still a metal, it's still hard. And it was used for, remember, the oro,
It's an
for
ingot,
the
it's
copper.
hard.
Yeah, exactly. It's seriously hard. That's right. And in fact, that's what the top of the oro was like, a massive ingot, wasn't it?
Wow.
Extremely heavy as well, by the way.
And
Very,
full
very
of
heavy.
tin.
Oh, the crew. There's so much to talk about. Anyway, so let's go. So let's talk about. So now you see gold and silver. Gold obviously has an obvious value to it. Because it's just gorgeous and beautiful and versatile and valuable and everything. Silver also has a value because it's used as a kind of an exchange, isn't it? It's used in money. Most ancient financial money systems were made of silver, right? It was lighter. Gold was just impractical to carry around. It was too heavy, too expensive. Right?
They had gold sovereigns.
Yeah, they had gold
They
money
did, but
and
that it was very rare. The gold sovereigns, I think, were first of all, they were relatively recent sovereigns in the last couple hundred years.
money gold from a long time ago.
Okay, I'm not saying it didn't exist. On the contrary, it did exist, but it's not as common, anywhere near as common as silver. Silver was the main exchange. Now, okay, so you've got those two things. Now, Nechoshes, on the other hand, didn't really have anything. I mean, even the coppers now we have nowadays, bad press really, twos and
the copper penny.
ones. They're looking to get rid of them. I think ASAP probably because it's just a waste of time. It just doesn't have much value to it, right? So therefore, I think Denise intimated this. The Rebbe also says this, that we're talking about in a way, but if you can answer on a spiritual level, that these three metals represent three kinds of Jews. You have a gold Jew. He's like the Baal Tshuva. The Baal Tshuva is somebody who has become religious, or somebody who was religious, he went off the way, and then he came back. That's the classic Baal Tshuva. Yes? Nowadays, people who become religious are not necessarily Baal Tshuva because they didn't know any better, they didn't know it beforehand. So it's not so, you're not repenting, you're just becoming newly religious, right? But anyway, that's the gold Jew, the gold star standard. Now then you have silk. So that is higher than anything and everything. Then you have, that represents Baal Tshuva. Silver represents like the tzaddik, because that's like the main currency that which God, the default that God created the world. Adam, and right, is that we're supposed to be tzaddikim. Of course, people did wrong, and then it became Baal Tshuva, right? So that's the main currency, if you like, of Hashem. And then you have the Nechosos, that represents the wicked, the Rishonim, like the rest of us, right? We're like the copper. It's all right. But the whole point is that you have to have all three involved in building the Beis HaMikdash. And when you have all three involved, then even the person who's a bit of a, how should we say, a naughty boy, right? Well, I say naughty girls, but if he's a naughty boy, then at least if he's involved in building Mikdash, that will bring him around anyway, right? So it's very important. We don't believe in just every person has to be involved in building the Mishkan, regardless of their station, their spiritual station, whether you're a Baal Tshuva or a tzaddik or a Rosh. In fact, that's what we have. We have the word Sibur, yes, which stands for, it's a similar idea. Sibur means community. Stands for what? Tzaddikim, tzaddikim. Ba means Beinanim. And Rishonim. Sibur. So it's a community. You have to have all three. Yeah. Otherwise, if you say, "Oh, I'm not Rishonim, get him out of here. You don't know Rishonim, so you don't have a tzibur. If you don't have a tzibur, you don't have a community. You're not part of it."
No, you've
The
been
one
laughing.
those newsletters used to be called that.
Oh, just a second. Mrs. Iverson, yes, would you like to say a few words?
I would just say that it's so beautiful the way you form it, that a community needs all three different kind of Jews, but it's also that way with using gold. When you use gold for something, you can, because as you said, gold is a soft metal, but if you add, like we do these days, and that I'm sure they have been doing forever, if you add a bit of silver and a bit of copper to the gold, it's also more usable.
Interesting.
Stronger.
Very good. And by the way, you say about soft, it's interesting you speak about the idea of being soft, because the Baal Tshuva, it's interesting, the Baal Tshuva can be quite sensitive. And it says, sensitive, soft, it says a Baal Tshuva, you're not supposed to remind a Baal Tshuva of his past. Last year, you were a very naughty boy, weren't you? You did this wrong, you did that wrong. Now you want to be a big tzaddik, do you? And that can really hit, that can really hurt, something terrible, So, that's perhaps symbolic. The Baal Tshuva is gold, because he's soft, But I do take your point about making it hard. I don't know. I think generally speaking, it's interesting. If you look at the creation of the Oren, let's look a little bit about the Oren, because we're running out of time here. Exactly. Now, actually, let's look at this. Actually, if you turn over to page 512 to 512, we're talking about the Oren, right? Oren. Okay. Now, here, you would cover it. It says in verse 11, you should make it from. It gives you the lengths. First, it says 2.5 long by 1.5 long. Okay. Everything's halves, by the way, just to understand that how much the Oren, which was of course Torah, your study has to be like you don't know it all. You're only halfway there. You're only halfway there. That's why it's all in fractions, right? Notice 2.5, 1.5. Okay. Now it says cover it with gold, pure gold, right? Now that's when we're talking about Torah, it has to be pure. But you know what it says afterwards? It says that you should put. Look. Just a second. Now here, look on the next page, page 14, on verse 13. But make the budding, the staves, sticks, poles. It's racist now. You should make the sticks or the poles, whatever, out of acacia wood and cover them with gold. Interestingly, it doesn't say zahav tahor.
Pure gold.
It doesn't say pure gold, right? Now, what's the difference? Because here's interesting, the budding, which is like supporting the Oren, which allows it to be lifted and carried, represents the idea of tzedakah. Because you've got the idea of Torah, right? And then you've got the movement of the Torah and the support of the Torah, which is the idea of tzedakah, right? So like people, for example, who make an agreement with themselves that this one will study and someone will help him, support him. It's a ruling in very good. Yes, so you have those two partnerships. So when it comes to Torah study, Torah study is try to make it pure. You should have your pure, right? When it comes to charity, tzedakah, you don't have to have such pure motives. Just give the tzedakah already. You don't have to say, I'd love to give you, but I might feel, I might feel a bit arrogant about it, and I have wrong motives. Or, forget about your motives, just give already. It doesn't have to be, the giving itself is golden. Giving is golden, right? It doesn't have to be tahor. You don't have to have perfect thoughts every time you give something, right? The poor person, right, who's feeling like he's just about to drop dead because he's starving, right? He doesn't care about your thoughts. Just take the gelt already. Give me the gelt, hand it over. Open the box, take the money. You know what I mean? I'll take it.
But this tape iron and those poles, they got gold, but there's wood inside.
Well, there's also wood inside the oren, by the way.
That's
Remember
what I
the
said.
oren?
Yeah.
No, the oren, you just had the sticks. The
No,
coals were
I said
wood.
Also the box.
Yeah, but the difference is the gold by the oren, it says Zahav Tahar. So the gold even was a different gold. So, they were both wood. I mean, it's hard to know because it says we have a tradition that the oren was 3 boxes.
One
3.
inside the other.
One inside the other.
Yeah.
One gold, right? Like made of just finished gold, right? And then there were 2 of gold. So the larger one of gold, they put the wooden one in, and then they put the gold inside the wood. So it was, in other words, it wasn't a solid gold.
The wood was a
The wood was the main thing, but it was covered with the gold sort of plating, if you like a gold box. So it was probably quite thin. So it wasn't too, otherwise it would have been too heavy.
Like
Okay.
leaf.
Pardon?
Like leaf. Gold
Yeah.
leaf.
Maybe like gold leaf. Well, gold leaf is almost gold. Is gold leaf like paint almost? No.
Yeah,
Is it? Is painted? Is foil? I think it was probably thicker than foil, right? Not like foil, but maybe the budding. Yes, maybe that would have been like foil or gold leaf, or maybe even paint. Maybe even paint.
Quite thick to stay on them poles.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Now, just going to mention one more thing about the oren.
Because they were hand in it.
The oren on top, we had the kaporis. The kaporis was the covering. Okay. The covering was made of pure gold. But what was on the covering? These cherubs. Kruvim. Now, what were the cherubs? It's a little bit
Angels.
mystical. What it was?
But there's different interpretations.
Yes.
It's not necessarily.
There are different interpretations, but how some say it was a man and a woman. Some say it was the face of little children, like you've heard of cherubic. Yeah, cherubic. It's an English expression for like gorgeous, beautiful little children with big, puffy cheeks. Yes, they're sort of like cherub or cherubic.
In today's Rashi, this, cherubim, what do you call them?
Yeah, kruvim.
Kruvim. They translated also Rashi, like he says in parentheses or something like that, other creatures. Like, when it came to the prophets in terms of the.
Oh, no, because but that's because the barak was the curtain. But there was weaving. They weaved different animals.
Right.
But not the kruvim. That's not kruvim. I don't think I have to look at that. We'll have a look. You show me afterwards.
But I think there's cherub. It's more the Morocco, that era.
That's a Christian.
Kind of.
No, that's where they got it from. But they got it from us, of course.
But Isaiah, the prophet, does he see in the throne? He sees cherubs. They have
Ezekiel, maybe.
Ezekiel, that's
maybe
right.
Ezekiel.
Yeah, 4 wings.
Angels. I'm not sure he says cherubim. But funnily enough, the first time we read cherubim is in Genesis, Bereshit, when Adam was sent out of the Garden of Eve. He said he put there 2 cherubim, and there was a sword, a revolving sword, right? And Rashi says over there they were called malache chabola. They were like damaging angels, nasty angels that would cause maybe demons, who knows what. Chabola. Danger, like mechablim, like now we call terrorists. Yeah, danger, like that. So interesting that on the one hand, Rashi says that there, and here he calls them little kinderlach. He says, well, It's interesting. That is what education is all about, isn't it? He says children can grow to be either Machole Kabbalah, angels, like angels grow up to be rather damaging, nasty, who knows what. But if they're on top of the Torah and they have a proper education, then they'll grow up to be sweet and lovely and who knows what. You understand? There's different ways of depending on the chinuch as well.
As Christian, because the Christians use a lot of cherubs. Do they take it from?
Of course, they take everything from us.
Did you say
very
that?
much-
Everything's hijacked from Judaism. Everything, half the stuff in Islam, half the stuff in Christianity, it's all taken from us.
Right.
Sorry?
Sorry, is it Malachi?
Malachi.
Machabla?
Machale Chabola.
Habola.
Yeah. Chabola means like danger. Okay.
Yes, fine.
Now let's finish off now because there's so much more to talk about, but we've run out of time. But I just wanted to refer to speaking about. No, I think it's just the outside. We're Erev Zayin Adar, the 7th of Adar. Okay, the yard site tonight and tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 7th of Adar, and just to discuss a little bit what Batya asked about before. When Haman, it's interesting. It says when Haman made his pur, his lottery. Yes, when's a good time to just destroy the Jews? Came out in the month of Adar, and at that time there was no auspicious date in Adar. There was nothing auspicious, and on the contrary, it was the date was known that Moses died. Moshe died on Zayin Adar. So Haman was like, he hit the jackpot. He's got a month where there's nothing special going on except Moshe's death. Well, that's great, isn't it? Perfect. But of course, the rabbi says they didn't realize it was Moshe's birth as well.
Yeah.
His birthday, you see. Now, it says when Moshe was born, it says the whole house became full of glory, full of light. Full of light.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, you see, when a person is born, the truth is we don't know exactly how he's going to go. We never know. Nobody knows how they're going to be, right? Until the end of the life. Once a person, at the end of a person's life, in a way that atones for, if you like, for who knows, or the death atones for what they may have done during their life. But the potential for goodness is never seen until much later. But that was a different, totally thing with Moshe was different. Moshe was pure goodness, pure godliness. So when he was born, that was like, that atoned for anything, just his birth. And that was the greatness of that time, which Haman didn't realize that was totally going to destroy his plans, because the birth of Moshe itself was the potential for such good, and it was more than the potential. It wasn't just a potential. For the rest of us, it was a potential, right? You don't know if Mr. Bolt is going to grow up and be a world-class runner, or Mr. Federer is going to go out and be a world-class tennis player, right? But when Moshe was born, it was like known, this is the great, Moshe's going to be the great guy, so he's going to be the great prophet. So that light was filled even when he was born. So that was what protected the Jewish people in the month of Adar, which you can see which an incredible day. The fact that he was born on this day, he passed away on this day, it's an incredible thing. And this was, Haman didn't plan on that. He didn't plan on that. And that's why he got clobbered. And may God help that all the Hamans of this generation,
Amen.
who we all know are trying their very best to get rid of the Jews all over the place. And we've seen all the demonstrations, God forbid. And as I mentioned a while ago, I said, I'm assuming at the time of Purim, right, in that times, there were 127 countries under the rule of Shoshan, of the Persian Empire. And I'm pretty sure they had demonstrations there every Saturday against the Jews in every country. They would demonstrate with posters, down with the Jews, this and the other, right? And in one day, boom, that was it, finished. They got all clobbered and taken care of, and the Jews became very popular again. So please God, it's going to happen. Now we can see that. We don't know how it's happened. Hashem is going to make some kind of incredible miracles that will turn everything around. as we mentioned last week, the month is a month of being totally turning around from what looked like the biggest disaster for the Jews to be the biggest success and the biggest victory for the Jewish people. May it happen, and we see it very, very, very soon. Amen. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. And a picture.
Yeah, I just want to take a picture of her.
Thank you all.
Memory of
Thank you.
Sharon Keenwald.